So they were talking about shadow work, the stages of shadow work to be exact. The first part of this series, 3-part series, which are going to help you be able to identify the obstacles and the things that you will face while you're on a journey to getting back your soul. Now, understand this though, by the way. So, big disclaimer: it don't matter what your beliefs or biases of the world is. This is for everybody. Understand, if you're into religious and spiritual things of that nature, the people that are not into spiritual and religious things, they do this too, because you got to understand what this is in the first place. And this will help you understand where you actually are, because you can look at your mind with truth instead of using the energy that is back behind the thing that got you out of a slump. Okay, so you can look at what the fuck you're doing with your mind. Now, understand, shadow work is whenever you have a opposing idea that is of quality, of a value that you want to possess, that opposes that object that you don't want in your life. So something that does not have quality, whether it's an object, action, decision, state of mind, wherever the fuck you want within life. So understand, whenever awareness of better is experienced and you up to a thought of change, okay, and whether you look at that thought of change as a spiritual awakening, uh, God gives you some type of revelation. You see that thought of change of, oh, I want to be a more productive person. You see that thought of change as a reminder of Andrew Tate, what's that dude name? David Goggins. Any like that, it's the same shit. Same shit. It's your perspective that you're getting lost in, that fixed expression, what you're coming into. So this is what this is going to help you, is what you're coming into, what you're moving with, because you don't know what you're moving with until you're able to observe what the fuck you were doing. Duh. What's the point of me making this video if that wasn't the original premise, the first principle of that? So once awareness is experienced and you move to a better thought of change, a idea that opposes a quality of an object, an idea, a decision, and you act within that quality, and you oppose a virtue that matches that same value as a relation, then hey, you're doing shadow work. Whether you selling dope, you got a new idea to sell your dope better, you're doing a form of shadow work. Now we're just doing it to change our character, to have a more profound way of looking at life. So this is where we get into spiritual and religious things of the nature. That's the only reason why. But you got to understand, we all do this. So when we understand we all do this, we can create a new perspective, a new perception that we can all participate in, and we all just be like basically be like a hive mind, and we all just, nigga, it'll get to the point where we just all just know each other, like, and we just look at, oh, that's just his vibe, that's just his unique characteristic. Like that can actually happen. It's just y'all lost within everything, whether you perceive it to be good, bad, evil, your beliefs, it all. So clarity of your body or knowledge is going to help you become aware of that. A few perks and abilities, as I stated, it give you a more profound creative perspective, an ability to track your soul, and the most important, courage, because you start to look at life as it is. So this segment is called Hell because this is the starting point of that original first principle, as I stated earlier. You start to create for disordered psychological states. So this is where you start to fumble your mind. Humpty Dumpty. So because this is where a soul starts to look at chaos with some type of aversion, okay? Meaning you create separation from your urges, and you create a seat to observe the first motions of that essence, which just belongs to a deep realm of ignorance. Okay, this is where you start to collect information, your rings, your stones, your power. So, but this happens when the event happens, though. So when that awareness happens, okay, because awareness, whenever you peep game, when is it? At that moment. That's when you gotta understand. That's where you gotta be trying to build in your mind up to. Okay, basically what I'm trying to say. So when a person lacks that skill of adapting, learning how to die, learning how to transform, learning how to transition, then you won't be able to identify conscience. So your consciousness falls. In other words, your mind starts to get filled with energy that gravitates and works with fixed expressions that correspond to how your soul reaction responds to stimuli. And that stimuli, you're always in that space, right? So you're always in some type of spirit, so outlook of life. So it corresponds to the hell. So this is where you create that environment. And this is where we customize the senses. And the senses is the mind, based on how stimuli is experienced with senses and how you participate with that, because you have a body. You're looking around, you're interacting. So that lets you know that however you dive into that, you don't dive into it. If you watch it, like this is the first principles of creating some type of characteristic, some type of archetype. So this is how you customize your mind. It's a perspective. It's a seat. Like, so whenever you're on that journey though, you're not going to have this perspective. But whenever you're on the journey though, you're watching these things because it corresponds with time, and I'm getting to it. So, but this is the environment of the soul though. And for the sake of this segment, I'm only going to talk about how a soul creates a chaotic environment, a mind that has no order. So the home is ignorance. It is the opposite of that energy. To be a little more direct, it's the unawareness of ignorance. So whenever you lack your principles and morals, without these states of conscience, then the mind has no starting point. So by default, your attention will focus on thoughts and feelings and emotions and passions, desires. That's going to be the starting point, the seed of the novelty of your imagination, which are going to correspond to the fixed attractions of your perception of that particular state of consciousness, that chaotic consciousness. Authenticity is like it's going to be distorted everywhere. So this is the whole point of getting into an energy of doing shadow work, so you can have that spirit. Like that's the whole point, is to have the spirit of something, to go in something. I gotta understand that that's what we all doing. No matter the words, it don't matter. It don't matter. So you have to create a new tone that produces a musical that comforts and equalizes your soul whenever you're on that mission, on that journey to go get your power back, to collecting your rings and facing obstacles. In other words, gaining a new understanding of how you participated, because you already know it because you experiencing it right now, or you just briefly experiencing. Like I stated, you need a new spirit to go into it. So you got to get a new understanding of where you participated, how you participated, and why you participated. Once the first step of the path is taken within that new spirit, then you're going to experience your senses in a new light. This goes back to the intro. Once you are aware of better and you put in the effort to do better, you create a separation that gives you a little more air. Life. You start to move. You don't become the initial reaction. So you get to observe it. You literally become like air. You get to feel you, see you, observe, move, transition, fade, the nature of air. So let's get into the mathematics of it so you can have some type of imagery within your mind. So I understand once external stimulus is experienced, an internal stimulus is created. What I mean by that is the faculties of the psyche. So when a soul gives an external stimulus, a feeling or a thought, and a thought can be a word, a symbol, any label, then that soul, you, your perspective, your perception, how you look at the information is going to be stuck in between the third and fourth dimensions. In other words, la la land. The second dimension would be the interaction between the senses and stimuli. So the main thing to take away is just reasoning and attention. The mind won't be able to perform it naturally and do it on its own until it is repeatedly practiced. So this corresponds to principles and morals. And what that means is if you don't live in accordance with reason and set intentions, then the cave between the third and fourth dimensions will be your home. So you won't be able to figure out the form of the third dimension. In other words, how you behave, your actions, and those thoughts and feelings that get produced from that because you're in a spirit of this lostness. So you're not going to be able to identify what that is. So you have no choice but to back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Fuck yourself. So you're not going to have a logic to even comprehend that energy. It's going to be clouded. That shit going to turn to clouds. You're going to say, fuck it. It's just going to be clouds. And you're going to lack the ability to critically think and to analyze things properly because you used it for just justifying those immature emotions. And that is going to produce a king of your mind. In other words, a ego, a blind man, a blind logic. So that is hell. Everything from that space will represent the spirit of that within everything. That is the eye, that is the seat of your perception, and that's how you're going to obtain knowledge. And that knowledge is going to intertwine with your ideals and your philosophy of that spirit and how you're experiencing stimuli with your senses. And that will produce the desires that you want to feed on, that you're going to have desires for, the energy that you're going to want to possess, go after, your passions, your urges, whether they're healthy or not healthy. It don't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter. So how much energy that's within a thought or feeling pertaining to each unit of those gaps between the third and fourth dimension, okay, will determine time and the times you're going to experience it. This is why healing takes time because of the efforts you put within each unit. So each thought, each feeling, even if you wasn't aware of it, it's just you kept on experiencing it, okay? And how much energy, passion, like where you was at whenever you was doing it, all those things come in play. So that's the whole point of you understanding the knowledge so you can understand this in a totality. Okay, because dude, you already know what shadow work is if you click the video. Like you already know what it is. You already know what it is. You already know what you need to do within life. Everybody that clicks this video, you know what you need to be doing at this moment. You know that certain shit is not going to lead you to certain ideals. You're not retarded. You're not retarded. So you got to understand these steps to even get to the next level. So that's why things are not even accumulating within your life. So that's going to sum up the first part of this series. Next part would be purgatory. If you stay to the end, I appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe.